The Mike Tomlin era is over in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are keeping an open mind as they take their first steps into this new world. Steelers president Art Rooney II spoke with reporters on Wednesday, describing Tuesday's conclusion to Tomlin as 19 years at the helm in Pittsburgh as an emotional day that didn't catch him entirely by surprise. "I wasn't shocked, but I wasn't expecting that kind of conversation yesterday either," Rooney said of Tomlin's decision to step down. "When you get to this stage of a career, obviously he even mentioned it himself, that he was near to the end of the beginning, and so you could see that coming, and so as I said, I can't say that I was shocked." Tomlin decided to step down less than 24 hours after his team bowed out of the playoffs via a 30-6 loss to the Houston Texans, Pittsburgh's first loss at home on Monday night in 24 games, a streak that stretched all the way back to 1992. More importantly, the defeat was also the Steelers' 7th straight postseason loss under Tomlin, the longest active playoff losing streak in the NFL. As the final minutes ticked off the clock, it became clear that this may be the end of multiple eras. Aaron Rodgers was possibly spending his final moments in an NFL uniform, and Tomlin faced an uncertain future. Instead of allowing someone else to dictate how he'd depart, Pittsburgh Tomlin decided it was time for him to move on from the only job he has occupied since 2007, ending a tenure that stretched nearly 2 decades and saw Tomlin post a 193-114-2 regular season record and an 8-12 postseason mark, including 2 trips to the Super Bowl and 1 Lombardi Trophy secured in Super Bowl XLIII. "Mike's been a great leader of our franchise now for 19 years, and led us with toughness, integrity, and always reflected the values of our organization," Rooney said. "Bottom line was, we were always in contention with Mike, and that's what counts." Tomlin is not leaving Pittsburgh for another coaching opportunity elsewhere this offseason. According to Rooney, who said Tomlin indicated that he did not anticipate coaching, at least, in the near future. "I think he wants to spend time with his family and do some of the kinds of things he hasn't been able to do for the last, many years," Rooney continued. "And so, if something like that comes up, we'll deal with it when it comes up, but right now, that doesn't seem to be on his radar." Tomlin certainly isn't the first tenured coach to leave his post after a long run. After struggling to recapture the magic of his earlier seasons with quarterback Drew Brees in New Orleans, Sean Payton made a similar decision at the end of the 2021 season, retiring and spending a year in television before returning to coaching with the Broncos in 2023. There is an expectation Tomlin could follow a similar path, though the specifics remain to be determined. The same is true for the future of Rodgers. The 42-year-old signal caller, who previously said last July that 2025 would likely be his final NFL season. Rodgers' performance in 2025 proved he can still play at a high level, but his motivation to join the Steelers was directly related to Tomlin's presence. With Tomlin now gone, Rooney believes the Steelers may have to consider a different path in 2026. "Look, Aaron came here to play for Mike, so I think it would most likely affect his decision," Rooney said. Rooney added, "I am sure the quarterback position will be an important part of this discussion with the candidates. We'll have to develop a plan for going forward." Rooney and the Steelers now find themselves in a largely unfamiliar place as one of 9 teams seeking to fill a head coaching vacancy this cycle. Pittsburgh has famously only employed 3 head coaches since 1969, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Tomlin. Their search for a 4th has already begun. They should be expected to follow the standard hiring timeline. It'll take weeks, at least, according to Rooney, but unnecessarily seek the same archetype they've employed for the last 55 years of their existence. They also won't consider anybody on their existing staff for the job, Rooney added. "We're gonna be an open book in terms of, who we look for, and the list that we build," Rooney explained. "So yeah, can I sign up for another Chuck Noll, or another Bill Cowher, or another Mike Tomlin? Sure, but somebody that, we feel, fits that mold would be great, but for now, we're not gonna kind of narrow the box too much." Roster is obviously an element in the formula for finding their next coach. Quarterback is a massive question mark that has persisted since Ben Roethlisberger's retirement in 2022, and general manager Omar Khan also needs to find a way to keep their defense, which includes a few older mainstays, competitive. Rooney isn't aiming to change Pittsburgh's power structure with a new coach, instead seeking to replicate the same chain of command that worked for Noll, Cowher, and Tomlin, which might eliminate some candidates who seek autonomy or something resembling it from consideration. If any franchise has earned this right, though, it's the Steelers, a club that has long stood as a model of continuity in the constantly evolving landscape that is the NFL. NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero reported later Wednesday that the Steelers have requested to interview Vikings DC Brian Flores, who spent the 2022 season on Tomlin's staff in Pittsburgh, Rams DC Chris Shula, Rams passing game coordinator Nate Schulhaus, Dolphins DC Anthony Weaver, and Chargers DC Jesse Minter. Rooney seems to believe the Steelers' method is plenty attractive for an aspiring coach and expects the new hire to keep them competitive. just as Tomlin famously did over his 19 seasons. The state of Pittsburgh's roster will undoubtedly be a topic of conversation in coach interviews, Rooney said, but won't be used as an excuse for a step back in 2026. I'm not sure why you waste a year of your life not trying to contend, Rooney said. Your roster is what it is every year. It changes every year. So, you deal with what you have every year. Try to put yourself in a position to compete every year. Sometimes you have the horses, sometimes you don't, but I think you try every year. With their first coaching vacancy since the George W. Bush administration, the Steelers will have to make an even greater effort in the weeks ahead.